Right, taking that Eastern chi or ki or prana and connecting it to the Western science of proprioception and
Yeah.
salutogenesis and allostatic loading and understanding adverse mechanical cord tension in the system. So can you speak a little bit to this intersection at this point that we're at, as having all this new science having emerged in the last 50 years, and then also having these age-old principles that we still embrace because they never have been really disproven or have never failed. Can you speak a little bit about, as a chiropractic student, how you can maybe balance the studies and where you should be looking maybe to start to explore these intersections?
Yeah. On that note, particularly from the student point of view, an insight that I received like at the very end of chiropractic school. So like I'm about to graduate, and probably one of the most important things that I learned about the process of the education of going to school, and some of the major frustrations and issues and challenges that I felt personally, and that my friends and classmates had also expressed, um, about just the process. And it's like there's so much about what this curriculum is really demanding of you that it's not really clear how it's chiropractic or why it's chiropractic. And I do think that the school that I went to, which is Life West, did as good of a job as they could considering the restraints and the constrictions of the system that they're in, which is regulated by the board and by all manner of other things. And there are other people that are more well versed in just the politics of that than I am. But the insight that I got was the role of chiropractic college is not to make you a good chiropractor. It's to give you the opportunity to pass the examinations that you need to pass in order to get your license. Like that is their primary goal. And that's why the curriculum is structured in the way that it is. Because if you don't have a license, you don't get to practice. I mean, it's that simple. And so their main task and their main charge at that point is, how do we prepare students for the tests that we know they will need to get through? Once I realized that, it took so much of the charge out about what my frustration was, because that nobody ever explained that to me, and I don't know that they even know that.
Mm-hmm.
They might now. But the expectation that I had from day one going in is, I'm in chiropractic school, I'm going to learn how to be a chiropractor. That's part of it, but that wasn't the primary objective of the curriculum and of the educational process. In an ideal world, I think that it should be. I think that would be phenomenal. And I look forward to a time when that balance starts to shift about what the primary question is. At the end of the day, right now, as a healthcare provider who is licensed by the individual states, going through those hoops to pass your board exams and everything else is still required. Part of the reason why it's required is because it's in the interest of public safety that people delivering healthcare services are trained and educated.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really important thing to acknowledge too. That's one piece of the puzzle. It's not the only thing, and that's not the reason why people get called to go to chiropractic school. They're not like, hey, I want to learn how to sit down and take tests.
Mm-hmm.
No, you've been inspired. Hopefully, you've been inspired in some way to want to help other people and to use your hands and to use your heart and to use your brain to do that. And chiropractic is a beautiful vehicle for that. But right now, I think it's still the case that the chiropractic curriculum, even in the philosophically strong schools, are still playing by the same rules as everybody else. And they can help to offset that with teaching technique and having philosophy talks and having philosophy classes. bringing speakers in and really helping to frame and offer resources to the students in that way. But my experience was such that that wasn't the primary goal.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as what a student can do to look at these things, is the most helpful thing for me going through the academic part was study your anatomy. Like, just that simple. You can literally never study enough about how the body works. And not just the anatomy, because I'm not talking about, these are the memorizations of the structures that you need to be able to stick a pin into. I'm talking about knowing what those structures are, what they do, how they relate to each other, the relationship that they have to the region, the organ systems, the rest of the body. And this is not like a rote memorization like, oh, this spinal nerve has this dermatome and myotome. That's really important to know. You should know that stuff. It goes back to that philosophical question of, why is this important? Why do you need to know this? It's because it gives you insight into what is showing up in the people that come into your practice. And all of the things that are taught in chiropractic school, I do believe, are important and will come up at some point. A lot of the resistance about, like, this is medical diagnosis and we don't need to know this. If you pay attention and you're in practice for long enough, people will show up with all of the things that are covered in curriculum. So there's a reason why it's taught, and it's not just about passing a test. It's about, at the very least, you should have heard about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your job to manage it and treat it and diagnose it? Not necessarily, but you at least have to be familiar enough with the expressions of disease to know what it is, and what it is you can do about it, and what it is that's important for you to be able to co-manage that with another provider. There are times and places when that's appropriate, and it's your responsibility as a healthcare practitioner to know how to work with other people.